Welcome home, chef, to the Chef Lance Show. And tonight is romantic dinner night. Surf and turf, the way it was meant to be. We've got a reduced wine sauce with blueberry. We have a medium rare filet and a lobster medallion on top, and some oven roasted asparagus to go with it. It's a beautiful dish for you and your special someone on that romantic night. So come join us and let's cook this thing. All right, welcome back. This is the romantic dinner for two that we're going to cook today for that special day, anniversary, that Hallmark holiday that comes around every February. You know that one. We're going to cook a surf and turf today. Now, let me just be candid about it. One of my favorite online chefs, Chef John Pierre, did this, and I was inspired by that. So I'm going to replicate what he did as closely as possible, but it won't be exact, okay? So there'll be some things different. I'm going to put my spin on a couple of different things, but all in all, he's the inspiration for this. I'm going to put a link to his channel down below. You guys absolutely need to check him out. So what do we got? This looks like a mess, doesn't it? But let me just go through some things. We're going to do a surf and turf. So what does that mean? Well, the surf is going to be lobster tail. We're going to do lobster medallions, and I'll show you how to create that from your lobster tail. And then the turf is going to be a filet. This is a tenderloin filet, beef filet, has nice marbling. I will not be seasoning this, and let me tell you why. I'm a huge proponent of brining. Now, by definition, brine is a salt and water mixture. So we didn't do that with the steak. You would do that with a chicken or a turkey or pork even. But there's this thing, and you can find hundreds of videos online talking about dry brining, and that's what I did. Dry brining is not a misnomer. Anyway, it may be a misnomer, but it's actually, by doing it the way we did it, it is a light cure, but it makes a huge difference in the flavor for the same reason a brine does. So let me tell you a little bit about that. Now, what I did was I weighed each filet individually, and this one's a little bit larger. Don't tell the wife, but I'm going to claim it for myself. So anyway, I weighed each one. Then I weighed using a microgram scale, but here's the deal. I weighed out 1% of salt based on the weight of the meat. I then took a small tray, put the salt down, spread it all over, edges, both sides, and I set that on a baking sheet with a wire rack in the refrigerator, and I did it for 2 or 3 days. So this is Thursday, so I actually put this in the refrigerator on Tuesday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, now Thursday. It's been in there for more than 48 hours. You could go for 3 or 4 days if you wanted to. I'm not trying to dry age the steak, but I do want to allow time for the salt to penetrate. And I'll do a complete brining masterclass down the road. But the salt will penetrate from all sides and reach the center. So what you have is a piece of meat that not only will be seasoned perfectly from the edge to the center, as opposed to just having some salt on the edge, it will also hold its moisture better because, and again, I'll go into this in the brining video, but because of the way salt denatures the protein, it will actually create a moisture steak at the end. So the other reason for leaving it in for a couple of days on a wire rack is so that air circulation happens. We are trying to achieve, when we saute this, a caramelized crust, very crispy crust, and that's called the Maillard reaction. That some guy named Maillard discovered it. But you cannot get the Maillard reaction in the presence of moisture. So leaving it in the refrigerator for 2 or 3 days actually helps dry out the surface of meat, and it is pretty dry, but it's also a beautiful piece of meat. Now, it has darkened in color, which is normal. Do not be alarmed about that. So we're going to saute that up, put a crust on it, and then we're going to finish it in the oven to get to a perfect medium rare. Now, my wife and I like our steaks very rare, even at what's called blue. When I go out to eat and I order a steak, I just tell the server I want it to moo on the way out and kick on the way down. I mean, if you just show it to the grill on both sides, then I mean that's really almost as much cooking as I like. But I'm going to take it to a medium rare. That is the kind of the universal temperature where most people like it. If you like it cooked more than that, God bless you. Go ahead and do it. I'm going to cook it though to medium rare. I'm going to sear it on the stove, put it in the oven. We're going to finish it there. You should have one of these in your kitchen. This is an instant read or a meat thermometer used to measure the temperature for a lot of things, and I will be measuring the temperature of the steak. That being said, that is the turf. Now the surf, we're going to do some medallions, and I will show you how to do that right now. Actually, let me go grab something, and I'll be right back, and I'll show you how to do the medallions. Okay, I'm back. Of course, it wouldn't be the Chef Flat Show if I didn't forget something. I forgot my knife, so I had to go grab it. So what we're going to do with this lobster, this is a lobster tail. I got it from Kroger as the store I used to make a medallion. You simply take the tip of your knife, very sharp knife, and you put the tip right in between or in the crease between the sections of the shell, and you drive it straight down that way, and then you slice, and then you finish it off by doing that. And then you just simply take your fingers very carefully. You don't want to tear it up, but very carefully peel this out of the shell, just like that. Okay. Make sure there's no pieces of shell on it. There we go. And I'm going to do the other one. Okay, now what I want to do is I'm going to season that very lightly with some salt. I'm going to put it on a plate and stick it in the refrigerator while we're working on the rest of the things. Now just taking a little bit of kosher salt here. And we're going to put that in the refrigerator. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is let me just run up the playlist here. We're going to have a side of a roasted asparagus. So this is the asparagus that were available to me this morning, actually. Went by the store and grabbed these. That's the thickest one of them. That's about average. These are not thick at all. Normally what I would do is I would peel the asparagus. I am not going to do it in this case because they're so skinny that if I peeled them, I'm going to take off half the size just with the peel. So these have been washed and dried. So paper towel dry these things. You want these very dry as well. And I'm going to cut off the ends, and then I'm going to set them on a tray, a small sheet pan here. But I'm going to start with a little cooking spray on that. And then we're going to roast these at the end. It takes less than about 5 minutes to roast these thoroughly. And I don't want it dry enormous. So that looks about it right there. So I'm going to spread this out, and we'll deal with this a little bit later when it's time to cook that. Get that out of the way. So we're going to have a side of asparagus. We're going to have a sauce. So this is really going to be a good sauce. We're going to do a red wine reduction with blueberries. So I'm using a Cabernet here. And then I've got some shallots. I've got some garlic, some tarragon, balsamic vinegar, and beef stock. Of course, the blueberries and the wine. Get my fire going. I'm going to let that heat up. I'm going to start warming the other side over here so we'll get our steaks ready to go. Put that on like a medium low just to get the warmth of it. So we're going to get all this going, and I'm going to come right back, and we're going to start the sauce. Hey, this is almost come to heat, but while we're waiting, I'm just going to go ahead and finish these asparagus, get it ready just to pop into the oven. We'll be roasting these at about 500 degrees, no less than 450, no more than 550. I usually do about 500. So I take cooking spray, and I just liberally coat the asparagus in cooking spray. I've already sprayed the pan. If you want to use parchment paper, feel free to do that. But I spray the asparagus itself so that the seasoning will stick. So I'm going to sprinkle a little kosher salt on this. Now, why do I like roasting it as opposed to blanching and then sauteing? I like a little bite. I don't want it completely raw, obviously, but I like a little bite uh, on my asparagus. Just it's my personal preference. Um, if you blanch them, that par cooks them, and then saute them, you're going to have a soft asparagus. Nothing wrong with that if that's what you like. Okay, now we're going to start out. We're going to cook off the shallots a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit of butter in there. And yes, I know that normally I tell you that you should use some cooking oil with that. But in this case, we're just going to be cooking it very quickly. And then I'm going to add the shallots. So I'm going to saute the shallots first, just for a couple minutes until they actually soften up. I am going to add the tarragon. The balsamic vinegar. Now, by the way, use a good balsamic vinegar. Then I'm going to add the garlic. Oh, the aromas coming out of here is just fantastic. Oh, yeah. Whew. The balsamic vinegar just really adds a nice little punch to it. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my red wine. This is a Cabernet. You use whatever wine you prefer. So what we're doing with the red wine, we're going to reduce that by about half. I'm going to add the blueberries in right now so they can begin softening. And then I'm going to use a handy-dandy potato masher that you should never use on your potatoes. You should use a potato ricer. And as they soften up, I'm going to come in here and poke around on those. Okay? So now we're ready to go. I've got this pan not hot, but it's warming. So I'm going to get it where it is time to cook. And I'm going to show you how to determine when your pan is ready to go. So I'm going to set that up. We'll come back when it's ready and we'll talk about it. Okay, this pan's been heating up. How do you tell when it's ready for sauteing? Well, I've got a little bowl of water right here. I'm going to dip my fingertips in. And you see that right there? That pan is hot enough to saute with. Look what the water does. It turns immediately into a ball and starts dancing, okay? Now, if that had just flattened out and kind of bubbled and evaporated off, that pan is not quite ready to go. Now, I am actually going to dump that little bit of water because when you add the oil, there's still a little bit. Come on now. Get out of there. Now, you want to add your oil. And you see how it almost immediately shimmers. Now, but you don't want it to stick, so you want a hot pan, cold oil, meaning room temperature, and now it's ready to stick the meat down. And so we are going to, and that's how you hear it right there. We always start with the presentation side down, so you want to take a look at your meat. But there you go. That's how you tell when the pan is hot. Now, do not touch the meat. If you move it around a lot, you're going to break the surface tension and reduce the amount of caramelization you get on the steak. So just leave it alone. I know when we're cooking, I have a tendency, I just want to play with my food all the time. Don't do it. This is exactly where we want it to be. We're going to get a pan sear on this, both sides, slip it in the oven, and now we're going to pull it out. So what is a medium rare? That's about 130 degrees to 135 degrees. We're going to pull it out at about 120 to 122, 23 degrees and allow it to what we call rest. Now that resting, during that time, the steak will continue to rise in temperature. So we'll be able to pull it early, but it will rise to a medium rare. If you wait till you hit medium rare, then you're going to overshoot where you want to be. So if you just move that a little bit and it releases, it's ready. Now look at that. Look at the crust on that. Is that not gorgeous? Absolutely. This guy right here's got one too. So we're going to, now obviously I have a little spot in the middle there. You should really press down your meat when you do this so that it makes contact. I am going to let that go for about 30 seconds. I've got a 450-degree oven I'm going to move that into, and then we're going to go to the next step. Got the sauce reducing nicely, and we're ready to go. So I'll see you in just a sec. All right, so I've got my sauce reducing nicely. I turned the fire down on it just a little bit, mainly so I can see where we're at. I want it to be a little bit thicker than it is right now, so I'm going to continue reducing that before we go to the next step. But we are in the final throes of this. So just to give you an idea of where we're going with this, when this gets reduced, I'm going to add the beef broth and reduce it a little bit further. Then I'll be checking the steaks in the oven. I will pull those and set those here on the cutting board to rest. Then I'll pop the asparagus in for about 5 minutes or so. And then then I'll do the lobster medallions in the same pan as that we had the steak in. We're just going to very quickly, we'll do the lobster tail. Saute it on both sides. We'll pull that out, let that rest, and then we'll deglaze that pan with some cognac. I didn't mention this. We have cognac here. I'm going to deglaze the pan. Then I'm going to add it to the sauce. And then we're going to strain it all. We'll strain it into another one. And while it's still hot, then we're going to take the rest of our butter and what the French call, I can't pronounce it in French, but they call it mouth with butter. Basically, we're just going to emulsify some butter in the hot sauce. And we will continue on from there. So give me a couple minutes and I will be right back. I just checked the steak, and the small steak is internal temperature, and you want it when you do your internal temperature. You want to take your thermometer. Of course, it's going to start reading. You hit the probe. It should go to the center of your meat, however thick that is. If it's not thick enough, you can go in from the side and get it, but you want to be in the center, the internal temperature. The small steak is right at 90 degrees, so we're moving along very quickly. This sauce is reducing nicely. Oh, if you could be in here to smell this. If we had some smell-o-vision, it would be wonderful. But it's coming down nicely. Almost halfway reduced. I'm going to go ahead and add the beef broth and continue reducing. And then we'll strain it into this clean pot. And we'll keep going. So, all right. I will be back when the steak is ready. We will finish the sauce, finish the lobster when the steak is resting. Let's also be when we put in the asparagus. So I'll be right back when we're ready to go at that level. Okay, I am ready to strain the sauce. It has reduced nicely. It's beautiful. It hasn't been seasoned yet. The flavor of the wine and the blueberry together is really coming through. So I don't want to miss any drop of that. So now I've got a little bit of liquid left here. I'm just going to work that through the strainer. This is a fine mesh strainer. You should have a couple of these in your kitchen. You can get them online if you've got the local restaurant supply store that you like to use. I use one that's an independent, no chain. Listen, I'm not opposed to chains. I just want to help out the local guy when I can. So now, oh, the sauce looks fantastic. So now that sauce is ready to go. All right, our steaks are where we want them, just a little over 120 degrees. On the small guy, I'm going to take these out. By the way, this pan has been in a 450-degree oven. I'm going to turn the oven up real quick, by the way, to finish off the asparagus. I'm going to move it to about 525, just a little over 500. Give that a second to warm up. Then I'll pop the asparagus in. I'm going to set these over here to rest on the cutting board. I'm not going to cut them or anything. I'm just going to let them rest. All right, now I'm going to dispose of this excess oil. Then we're going to get right to our medallions of lobster. The reason I still have the strainer over the sauce is that what I'm going to do is once I cook off the lobster, I'm going to deglaze with cognac, and all that goodiness from the steak and the cognac and the lobster, we're going to strain it through into the sauce, add another level of flavor. And so now let's go ahead and get these little lobster medallions in there. I want to keep my sauce very warm but not hot. Because, hey, by the way, did I tell you that was hot? The universal symbol for a hot pan is to leave a towel or rag or an oven mitt on it so you don't do what I just did. I've got battle scars enough. I don't need another one. All right. Oh, that lobster is smelling awesome. Okay, so that's sauteing nicely. Now, the minute I add this cognac, that's going to drop the heat down just a little bit, and that's going to affect the cooking speed. So I want this to be pretty cooked through, but again, it only takes 30, 45 seconds on each side. Now I'm going to deglaze. Now, what am I doing? There's some brown bits left on there from the steak, and I'm going to release those when I deglaze and rub them, and they're all out now. So now I'm going to take the lobster. We're going to set it right there. Put the asparagus in for just a few minutes. Strain the cognac out into the sauce. Ah, beautiful. I'm going to taste it for seasoning. And we're going to emulsify the butter in this. Now, why do we add butter at the end of the sauce? Well, for one, butter is good. But it'll give a shine to this as well. And it'll just add another flavor level that is a richness from that butter. So it both adds something for the appearance and for the flavor. I'm going to add this in, and the way we do that is I just simply going to swirl this. I'm telling you, this is going to be fantastic. So what we're going to do plating-wise, we have these big, beautiful plates. I'm going to have a romantic dinner with my wife when we taste this. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to finish this sauce, give the asparagus a couple more minutes. When I come back, we're going to plate this thing and enjoy. So I'll see you in just a minute. Okay, now I'm going to grab our asparagus. Oh, they smell delicious. Set those right here. Now, let's plate. So I'm going to start with some sauce. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. The color is magnificent. Grab our filet. Plate that right there. Grab a medallion. That goes on top. And it wouldn't be the Chef Lance show if I didn't forget one or two things. And I meant to bring some tarragon for garnish. I didn't. But now let's go ahead and plate. Now I'm going to do 5 per plate. Something else about the human mind is that we see odd numbers as completeness. So I just want to serve these simply. On the side. And that, my friend, is your surf and turf. I cannot wait to dig into that. I can't do it without my wife. She's going to be mad at me, but we'll be right back after a couple pictures and we will give this a try. See you in a sec. All right, it's tasting time. Now, normally I taste the dish for you guys, but this being a romantic dinner, I couldn't do that without my my significant other, my wife, my CFO, my COO, who's here to. We're going to share this romantic dinner together. What do you think about how it looks?
It looks beautiful.
All right, well let's cut into the steak and see how well it turned out. Oh, that crust is so nice. And here we are, medium rare. See that nice pink in the inside? That is awesome. Give this a quick taste, get a little bit of sauce. What are you doing? Oh, you're eating. I'm talking. Oh. Everything. That sauce is just beyond words. Well, happy romantic dinner to you.
Thank you.
Let me try this asparagus. Perfectly seasoned. Still has a little bite to it the way I like it. A little bit of crunch, but it's cooked. It's not raw. Even the stalks are delicious. Listen, you guys have to cook this. Share with me in the comments how well you do. Send me a picture. But this is amazing. You have time to get ready for this. It only takes a few minutes. Super simple, just a couple of steps, and you're on your way. So good. Sorry you guys aren't here. Well, sort of. All right. We're going to continue eating, but that's it for the Chef Lance Show. We'll see you again next Thursday. Cook this for your special someone. You guys sit down and enjoy a glass of wine with it. Maybe even the wine you cook with. We'll see. But let me know how you do, and we'll see you next week. And until next time, just remember, a day in the kitchen beats a day of working any day. See you next time. This is really good. That is crazy good. You guys still here? Go home, cook this thing. Don't be watching us eat. Just go. Enjoy.